Honestly, if you guys been following the news recently, like Turkey made it clear that they don't want any Syrian refugees anymore in Turkey.
Trying to avoid to talk about Rohingya as a Rohingya, and when she came to the seat, she's denying that Rohingya are native people.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. The Struggle is shown on over 30 cable stations from Maine to New York City and points west. President Trump has had the U.S. military assassinate an Iranian general, escalating one of the ongoing wars in the Middle East. Trump did this on his own, ignoring Congress' power to declare war, but most members of Congress have shown they're willing to ignore the Constitution on this matter of war and peace. Soleimani, the Iranian general, had been in charge of a unit comparable to our own CIA and special forces, and was seen frequently with Iranian forces intervening in Syria and Iraq. Speaking of Syria, these photos are from a rally in Berlin, Germany, condemning the Assad Russia-Iran war on the millions of civilians in Idlib, Syria. Well over 3 million people are living there, including over 400,000 refugees. The region suffers daily bombing attacks. Russia is trying to limit, really to end, UN food deliveries to the area. To get a small idea of what it's like to live under the bombing, watch the superb documentary For Ossamah. Democracy Now! Had 2 esteemed Syrians on its program on January 2nd.
We turn now to Syria, where aid workers say Syrian government artillery fire killed at least 9 civilians, including 5 children, on New Year's Day in the northwestern province of Idlib, which is facing a heavy bombing and ground offensive by the Russian-backed Assad regime. At least 16 more civilians were injured.
Over the last month, nearly 300,000 civilians have been forced to flee the Syrian government's offensive against Idlib, which is home to about 3 million civilians, 3/4 of whom are women and children. At least 2 hospitals and 14 health centers have been forced to close. For more, we're joined by 2 guests. Via Democracy Now! Video stream in Gaziantep, Turkey, not far from the Syrian border, Yassin al-Hashsala is with us, a Syrian writer, dissident, and former political prisoner. And in Berkeley, California, Lubna Mehrai, a Syrian writer, photographer, and activist who's worked in Idlib from 2012 to 14 for Reuters.
We only have time to show you this small segment by Lubna Mehrai.
The borders have been closed. People are on the borders, sleeping under olive trees, some people sleeping in their cars, and there is no place to go. I mean, in Eastern Ghouta, you guys were talking with Yassin about Eastern Ghouta. When Eastern Ghouta happened, people knew that, okay, there might be a solution for these people to flee, which is Idlib. But sadly today, there is no other Idlib for these civilians to flee to. The situation is horrible, and I was talking to one of my good friends on New Year's Eve just to make sure that he's okay and he's safe. And he sadly mentioned that he has been sleeping with his wife and his 7-year-old daughter in the car on the Turkish borders. And he told me he cannot think of any solution. He has been active against the Syrian government since 2012. And for him to live in a city or to live under the Syrian government control is not really possible. And honestly, he just ended the conversation saying that he's considering committing suicide. That's in short. The situation is horrible, and no one knows what's going to happen.
And Lubna, very quickly before we conclude, has the Erdogan government, has Turkey said anything about allowing at least some people from Idlib to come into Turkey to seek refuge?
Honestly, if you guys been following the news recently, like Turkey made it clear that they don't want any Syrian refugees anymore in Turkey. We have seen reports of deportations, mass deportations of Syrians being sent back to Syria and to Idlib. And I don't think Turkey might welcome any Syrian refugees. People have been dying on the borders trying to cross to Turkey to seek refuge. I don't know if I can just add one point, if I have time, just to add one point. You guys were mentioning the HTS and how the Syrian government is saying that they are only in Idlib to attack radical groups and HTS. I just want to say that.
And explain what HTS is, Lubna.
Oh, it's Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. It's one of the radical groups today in Idlib, which is the Syrian government has been using as a justification to attack civilians on Idlib. I just want to say that, as I mentioned earlier, there is more than 3,400,000 civilians in Idlib, and to use HTS as a justification to attack 3 million civilians is really similar to the logic that Israel uses, and Israel and its supporters use to justify their attacks on Gaza. I think we should never justify attacks just because there is one radical group to attack all civilians.
To see the whole segment, go to thestruggle.org. It's one of the top links. In news about climate and nature, scientists are estimating that 500 million animals have been killed in the Australian bushfires. 500 million, a number I'm sure is beyond any of the most horrific imaginings of any of us. Today, as we record, the New York Times publishes an op-ed by Australian author Richard Flanagan with the headline, "Australia is committing climate suicide," detailing how top politicians there, both the government and the so-called opposition, are committed to expanding coal and methane production. The article is superbly written and essential. One way to get to it is through the site Promoting Enduring Peace, pepeace.org. Click on the Resources tab on top, then click on the Climate and Nature link. Below the countdown, it's the top article. The red arrow above points to the link to the New York Times article. The catastrophe in Australia reminds us that Connecticut's Governor Lamont must cancel all projects for new gas-burning power plants immediately. In Killingly, Connecticut, a nearby resident of the proposed new Connecticut gas-burning power plant speaks out to TSVN a few weeks ago.
I think that, we really need to think hard about the implications of building this plant, and not only for the future, but for the immediate. The asthma rate in Connecticut, in Windham County, Connecticut, where Killingly is located, is the highest in the state. Connecticut has the worst air quality in all the New England states. We're harming people now, immediately, as soon as that plant goes online. So it's a long term. If we're going to really solve the problem of this climate crisis, we need to not build this plant.
2 weeks ago, we had video from Yale of a meeting about the Uyghurs and the Rohingya. We continue with emphasis on the Rohingya.
Our second speaker is Ossamah Siddique. He is the son of Rohingya genocide survivors from the Rakhine State in Myanmar. He has lived with and visited many Rohingya communities around the world. Ossamah holds a master's in science and medical engineering. He is an active member of Rohingya Welfare Association, for which he recently won an award from the advocacy group Action Corps, Save Rohingya Children in Canada, and Rohingya Welfare Act School in Bangladesh. His main focus is improving educational access for refugee youth.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Ossamah Siddique. I'm from Rohingya community. My parents, they face a genocide action against them in their village in Myanmar, where they belong. And after reaching here in United States and living here, I thought this is the best place where I can raise the voice of my community and the situation happening to Rohingya people. And it's not happening today or yesterday. It's happening since 1940s. But because of lack of media and nowadays we have social network and so many things which can transfer the message all around the world. So now it's more famous, but in those times, in 40s, 60s, 70s, it was almost like a hidden and not that much famous. So first of all, I want to say that my English is not my first language, so I try my best to transfer the message in the proper way. So as per United Nations, this is the statement, you can get it, what's called the most persecuted minority in the world are the Rohingyas, because they are in prosecution since long time. So we will just cover a history and current situation and propose solutions by some organization and countries. And these points we're going to cover them. The history of Arakan. We talk about different names in the same time: Arakan, Rohingya, Myanmar. So I'll try to clarify for you the issue. Some Arab sailors, they reached to a coast in Indian Ocean called Rohang. This area was called Rohang. That's why they call us Rohingya people. And we talk Rohingya language. And Rohingya language is a mixture between Arabic and Persian and Indian language. That's place called, they ruled that place, and the people who, the native people there, they accept Islam on 9th century. The same time, Brother Adili was mentioning about Uyghur as well. They accepted Islam in the 9th century. Then that place became a kingdom, a Muslim kingdom called Arakan, Kingdom of Arakan. And it was an independent country, starting from North Rakhine State currently to the south. So this is the United Nations statement. And so the Kingdom of Arakan started since 1430s, and close to us was a Buddhist empire, which was very afraid of Muslim community, as it happens in Malaysia and Indonesia, because Muslims becomes more and more on that area. That's why they attack Arakan Kingdom, and they make it, or they just include it in the empire of Buddhist kingdom. Then British colony came to the area, and on that time, during British colony, we had our own member of parliaments, we had our own journalist, we had our own, let's say, rights in the country to represent ourselves. What happens is Bojok Onsang was killed after when British left the country, and Myanmar got independence, and the military gets more and more involved in the country, and their main target was to displace all Muslims from Myanmar, because they had a wish or a target to keep Myanmar for Buddhist religion only. And their first enemy was the Rohingya community, because they don't want any Muslims, and the main community which 100% Muslims are Rohingya. In 1982, they have excluded Rohingya from the native ethnicity of Myanmar. They have recognized 135 ethnicities in the country, and they have excluded us from Myanmar as a country and from citizenship law. So from 1982, we become stateless people in our own country. This is Aung San, who was the democratic ruler, and in Myanmar they call him the father of the nation because he was the one who tried to keep all minorities, and he tried to give rights for all minorities and keep them in the country. In 1962, this was a black year for Rohingyas when General Ne Win took the government, and he was a military general, and his main target was to displace Rohingya Muslims from Rakhine State and just take them out from the country. So they have done so many. They have started genocide action against Rohingya Muslims, and it was something horrible because we heard these stories from our parents because they have seen what happens there in 1962. You can't get it in media, but even if we talk about it, it's so extreme, an extreme level. Like their plan is to demolish villages for Muslims. So they come to the village, they burn the houses, they took the young, let's say, adults, men out of village. They kill them all, and they start raping the women, raping the women, and throwing small kids to fire where the houses are burned. And this strategy was started from that time. But in those times, the media was not active. But still, in these times, when they keep continuing, like 2012 and 2017, the same thing, you can see them on media, the same strategy. So in 1962, the genocide started in the organized way by General Ne Win, and it keeps continuing in different time, like every 2-3 years, every 5 years, because they had a long-term plan to displace all Muslims from the place. And the nearest country to us was Bangladesh. So whatever happens to Rakhine State, people, they just cross the river and go to Bangladesh for a safe place. And that's why in Bangladesh border, it's a biggest refugee camp now, which includes 1,200,000 people in one small place. So this is the map where this is Rakhine State. Here in this area there is a village called Kwensibong where I belong, and a lot of villages are here. When the attack comes from Burmese government, people just cross the river. This is a river which is border, and they go and they just go to Bangladesh. And in Bangladesh, only in this small place, we have around 1 million as per the United Nations statistics. But as per our expectation, 1,200,000, which is a big disaster for in this small space. And we are total 4 million. They are distributed in different countries, starting from Saudi Arabia to Myanmar, Malaysia, and India, and Pakistan. And in my personal history, my grandparents, they left in 1962 to Bangladesh, and Bangladesh and Pakistan was one country. Then they moved to Pakistan, and they lived stateless in different countries. And this is the citizenship for Rohingya people. Before 1982, they used to have Burmese citizenship like this, which has mentioned the Rohingya Muslims. But after 1982, they stopped issuing this citizenship, and when the people reach to Bangladesh, they have only this identity. which belong to United Nations, because they are stateless people. This is a satellite picture for one of the villages, which is demolished by a military government and Myanmar government. This is one of the latest pictures, and it shows how they are so extremely doing kind of demolishing plan for all these villages. This is another village. They don't keep animals. They don't keep mosque, no schools, no houses, nothing. They just erase it from the map. As a brother country, we believe that Bangladesh is our neighbor country, so we just go and for on the sake of safe place, we go to Bangladesh. But in new administration in Bangladesh, they just mention Rohingya people as a burden for them. So they start trying to find solution for this big quantity of people, like 1,200,000, and they proposed a solution which they couldn't do it yet, but the solution was to isolate them in a small island called Bashan Char. In Bengali language, Bashan means the floating island. The floating island, it's an island. When monsoon area comes, it's 60% of it is covered by water, so it's not safe for human being. So they are trying to isolate people to an island. This is one of their proposals. And the island is like 1 hour from mainland, so it was not acceptable by the international community, but still they're trying to do this plan. The second plan is repatriation. The people who are still in the camp, Bangladesh government with the Chinese government and India, they are trying to send back to Myanmar. But the question is, how we go back to Myanmar if we don't have our citizenship right, and we don't get back our houses, we don't get back our villages, and we don't live in a safe place, okay? So 3 times they tried to do repatriation in 3 different dates, but it was not successful because we didn't accept to go back if we don't get our rights and our safety and rights and dignity. This is Aung San Suu Kyi, daughter of Aung San. She was fighting as well for democracy, and she got a very high post in 2012 in the government as a counselor, state counselor. But we believe on her that she will stand with us. But since 2012 till now, she's very silent and trying to avoid to talk about Rohingya as a Rohingya. And when she came to the seat, she's denying that Rohingya are native people. She's saying that they're illegal immigrants or something like that. So we had very big hope on her that she will stand with us, but depending on her statements and speeches from 2012 till now, she's not with us. And from in 2012, 2016, and 2017, there was a big mass genocidal action against us. And by help of a country called Gambia, recently, on behalf of 57 Islamic countries which belong to OIC, they have raised a case in ICC, International Criminal Court, against Myanmar government, and this is a historical date for us, which is 10th of December, after 3 days, where Myanmar government will be in ICC, and Gambia will be the the people who, the country who raised the case, and we are hoping to get our rights. And it's really historical date for us because we are waiting for it since 70 years. And the bad news that Aung San Suu Kyi, she will be representing Myanmar government as a defender, and this was not expected because we think that she will be our savior in the government, and you can see how she is shaking hands with Tensen. He's a criminal as well. He's a general in a civilian dress who ordered a lot of genocide attacks against Rohingya Muslims. And the only solution is to go back to our home to our home country with our full rights and to get this safe like let's say a safe zone area or safe place where we can live. And this is about Rohingya community, and we hope for the best after the ICC hearing, and this is our problem, having a huge number of refugees in different countries and not getting the proper education and proper health care. Thank you very much.
I'm pleased to announce that there'll be 3 appearances by Dr. Mazen Kumsia in Connecticut this January. Keep in touch with thestruggle.org for details. Also, at that site, you'll see a link to an article I wrote in answer to Jared Kushner's false statements about anti-Zionism. It was published in the New Haven Register on January 3rd, and you can click on the link and see the article. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller for The Struggle.